Hello, everyone. My name is Gordon, and today's Spirit Talk is going to be about healing with meditation and what that process actually looks like. So, when it comes to healing with meditation, most of the time we're healing things like traumas or emotional baggage that maybe we're carrying with us, or even just some weird stuff that is inside that maybe we don't know where it comes from, patterned beliefs or what have you. Generally, these things come from some kind of experience, whether it be positive, neutral, or negative, and that experience casts a shadow on our psyche. So generally when we're carrying something with us, it comes from an experience that happened in the past. Maybe it was a neutral experience, a coming of age, transformational experience, or a traumatic experience. Something, no matter what it is, that left an imprint on us. And that imprint is what changes our behavior. It changes the way that we feel and can often change the way that we think. Now, whatever this experience is, think of it like an object in your psyche. And this object casts its own unique shadow, and that shadow is your behavior that follows. So for example, if you had a really tough breakup with somebody and they left you, and now you go into relationships with this feeling of like, man, I hope this person doesn't leave me. An abandonment complex, essentially, right? That abandonment complex is a shadow cast by that original unresolved trauma or negative experience. But it's important to note that your behavior is not actually the object itself that is in the mind. It is only the shadow of this object. And that original instance is usually the best way to deal with whatever is going on, getting back to that root source. So once we find that object, whether we know it or whether we have to go through meditation and sort of lean into that feeling of like, oh man, I just feel scared of this or that or whatever it is, leaning into that negative feeling or that negative behavior helps us uncover that object that originally changed the way we think or behave. And once you find that object, you're able to begin reverse engineering this shadow. You're able to see where it comes from and thereby begin to intuitively understand how to unravel it, how to get it off of your psyche and untangled from who you actually want to be. So in meditation, once we find this object, the next step is to then go and resolve whatever this experience was. So often a really powerful way to resolve hurtful past experiences or just something difficult in general that you're dealing with is to go to that version of you that was at the age that it happened. So if it's something from childhood, going to that childhood version of yourself in your mind and telling them everything that you wish they would have been told at that age. Telling that version of you that experienced this what they need to hear. Being able to communicate these words as though they're almost separate from you helps you say things that you need to hear now as well. This process of seeing who you were at that time and beginning to resolve it the same way you would as a mediator from a situation outside of you is what begins to heal some of this stuff that maybe you've carried for a long time. But once we've resolved the experience, it doesn't mean that it's just over inside of our hearts. Then we need to go and let go of this experience. And this is often one of the harder parts of healing with meditation, is recognizing where we picked up this behavior or this negative feeling or this thought pattern, resolving it, and then forgiving, letting go. Letting go doesn't always have to be forgiveness, but often it does entail forgiveness, not only for the universe or the people involved in the situation, but especially for ourselves as well, forgiving ourselves for being there, for feeling those feelings, and for maybe not resolving it in the most effective manner. So once you've actually let go of whatever this is, that's when you begin to feel into a more healed version of yourself. So when you've actually let go of this, what kind of things would you feel? Like, how would you be as a human being? What would your personality be like? How would you act towards others or in your relationships? How would this affect your behavior? And once you can imagine how you would act, and you're really leaning into the feeling of being healed, I mean, you truly imagine yourself there, that's when you start to create an action plan. Okay, so we know what you would do if you were healed. So now, how do we get there? What are some things we can do to begin practicing some of these actions? Creating maybe a couple baby steps, nothing too huge or too elaborate unless that's your thing, but just a couple baby steps to get us inch by inch closer to this more healed version of ourselves. And then once you have your action plan, that is when you determine to make yourself uncomfortable. Act on it. This is a totally new field for you, most likely. This is a new version of yourself, and maybe some of the actions are unfamiliar to you. Maybe they're even scary. Make yourself uncomfortable. Do those actions. Ultimately, learning from them. Seeing what you can give. How does your life actually change when you follow through on being this more healed version of yourself? And then once you are actively taking action on your plan that you made, those baby steps, that's when you take a step back and you really reflect on your journey. So, what have I learned from this whole process? What have I learned from behaving differently, from trying to feel differently? What are some areas of struggle that still maybe need a little bit of love? Something that needs some extra effort or work? This reflection process is what helps integrate our learning and really take it to the next level, to where we actually make a solidified change in who we are. So these were the basic 10 steps of how we heal with meditation. Hopefully this helps you and you're able to go through looking at some of my meditations with a wider perspective and be able to get a little bit more from it. Because it doesn't just end when the meditation ends. This is a practice of healing that goes into our daily lives. Thank you for tuning in. I love you guys, and I hope you have a wonderful day wherever you are.